What if in one single training, you finally gained the confidence to crush it in your coaching, your marketing, and in your life? Carissa and Laura are going to help you simplify, accelerate, and scale your coaching business. You'll create massive value for the people you serve. You'll get time back, and every week consistently secure your high-value clients. Join me for the Passion to Profit Masterclass with Laura, who is the accelerator, and Carissa, who is the real rock star. And me, Lori, I am the guest for this amazing masterclass. To join the masterclass, go to passionintoprofitslive.com/Lori, Laurie. That's passionintoprofitslive.com/
2, 3. Tick tock, do 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 do. Time keeps on slipping, slipping, slipping into the future.
It's simple steps with a colon.
I've been taking that colon out.
Oh, have you? Oh, simple steps for the whole you. Okay, no colon. We're transitioning away from our colon.
They're so yesterday.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Unnecessary punctuation and all.
Has your life, your dreams been interrupted? Good news. It is possible to reinvent our lives. People are doing it every day, and some are brave enough to share the struggles, disappointments, and challenges. If you are looking for a new beginning, a do-over, or to rediscover your passion, maybe even find a new one, then grab a cup of coffee and let's talk. Interrupted, Act 2, Reinventing Your Legacy, with your host, Coach Lori.
Michelle Tornetta and Lisa Ostreim. Their podcast is Simple Steps for the Whole You. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
So how long have you had your podcast?
Here we've gone
Almost 6 months, I think. Or no, a little more than 6 months. I believe we started in September 2023.
Yeah, that's right, September. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're fairly new. Yeah.
28 episodes.
What made you decide to do a podcast?
Well, I was formerly doing a podcast with a girl named Lexi. It was called Deep Breath for the Whole You, and it's still up there to be listened to. And we had a couple of years under our belt, but we started that podcast during COVID. I know a lot of people start things during COVID. We were like, what could we do to give people hope and be a positive message? And so we started that one. Then she had a kind of a family emergency and had to step back. And I was doing the podcast alone for a while because it was unknown how long she'd be out or if she didn't know. And I didn't pressure her. We're just like, well, we'll just see what happens. So week by week, I just kept going. And Lisa lives somewhat close to me, around the corner, literally.
Yeah, same neighborhood.
2 blocks. We had gotten to know each other through yoga. I had asked her to speak about habits on my podcast. It really went well. We really enjoyed that episode. We did a couple of 2, 3. I was like, do you want to be my temporary co-host kind of for a while? And then I ended up closing out that podcast, and we just started to think about and discuss whether or not we would want to do a podcast together because we have so many things in common that we're passionate about. Mm-hmm. She has a book coming out. I thought, what a great way to promo that. Mm-hmm. That's why we started.
And Michelle graciously agreed to the topic idea of habits. That's what my book is about, to help promote it. But also as we found, like going on walks together, we just had lots to talk about related to, habits can cover so many different areas. Kind of came natural.
And I love this, Michelle, that you wanted to have a co-host. Like that seemed like something that was really important. Can you talk about that?
I did enjoy my solo time in a while because I felt like I was able to kind of find my voice separate from my previous co-host, which I think set me up well to then merge with Lisa. But I love the idea of having these conversations, not very scripted, where Lisa and I just get to chat, take our chatting and pondering and things that we're trying and share them with the world. So I like that idea versus just my voice. I know there's interviews and we have done interviews, but primarily it's just she and I chatting and sharing, like, because we talk about habits, we're always sharing what's working for you. What are you trying? What am I trying? So we recently got a bunch of people all rebounding, doing the mini trampoline because we got into it. And so we shared it. So
I love it. Lisa, was this your first time doing a podcast then?
It was, yeah. So when she interviewed me last spring or summer.
Yeah, spring.
That was my first interview. And then I saw it coming though. I told my husband, I think she might ask me to partner with her. And then after a few weeks she did. So yeah,
I kept telling her, I've got things I'm dreaming about. I'm thinking about something. Whenever I interview somebody, and maybe you find this true as well. And I said this to Lisa, I said, just remember, we can hit pause. I can go back. I can delete.
Yeah.
And we're not going for perfection. We're just two girls talking. So that, there's always a little bit of scare when you turn on a microphone and you start talking. So I just said, don't worry. We can pause. We can stop. We can delete. We can start over. All those things can happen.
Yeah.
And that's such great wisdom, because I think I always say, push record. And I feel like people think if I push record, it's going down in history. It's like, no, you can actually delete it after you record it. And what I hear too, a lot of people, they say, oh, I don't like my voice. I just took some recordings from a friend of mine who is a storyteller. I just created this in Headliner. I put her picture and I put the audio with this, but I wanted her to have them. I wanted to not be the owner of them anymore. So I sent them to her. I'm listening to these amazing, beautiful stories. And the first thing, her email back, can you guess what her first email back said to me?
I don't like my voice. Something along that line.
Yeah. I know. I didn't like mine either when I first heard it, because that's how we sound to other people, but it sounds so different
in our head.
Yeah.
How did you get past that?
Good question. I think just the fun of it was just like, let's just keep going with this. It's kind of fun. I don't know. I just get over it fairly quickly. I got over it.
And I think for me, thinking about that too, just getting over it, but also like the message, like realizing it's really not about me, like, trying really hard not to think about that. Anyway, it's not about me. The message that we have is worthwhile hearing. Get over yourself, Lisa.
Well, I'll tell you a quick funny story that literally just happened. We wanted to play a song.
Oh yeah.
What's the title of the song? It's from the Eagles, right? But it's Time Keeps on Slipping, time keeps on, because we're going to talk about time management. And we couldn't use the song because, Spotify would let us, but not the rest of our platforms. So Lisa had the brilliant idea that we try to sing it. Now, neither of us are singers. So we literally just recorded like a 2-second little jingle and made it purposely funny. Speaking of getting over how you sound, we are not singers.
Totally over it. I feel like, because that's that fly like an eagle. I remember the name, fly like an eagle. But we didn't even want that part in it. No. We just wanted the time keeps on slipping. So I just thought that'd be cute, right? Yeah. People will like that. We'll just sing it with our own voices and whatever.
Yeah, we've just begun our singing career.
2, 3, tick tock, do 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 do. Time keeps on slipping, slipping, slipping into the future.
Look at the doors that open.
Exactly.
It's going to go viral. We know it.
Exactly. We'll be in concert halls everywhere.
That's a good point, because a lot of people say, oh, well, I want to use Taylor Swift's Shake It Off. I'm like, do you have $5 million? Because that's what the fines will cost you if you use that.
Yeah.
And so music selection is a really big part of it. Do you batch record or do you do one a week?
Yes.
Sometimes we do 2 to 3 at once. We live so close to each other that it's just so convenient. And we've kind of carved out our podcasting day. So depending on our own unique schedules, we might do 2 or 3 in one day. But sometimes lately we've just been doing 1.
Yeah.
However, we are planning for some big batching for our summer, summer episodes so that we can have more time to play.
I feel like 1 to 2 is the sweet spot.
Yeah.
When we have to do 3 by the 3rd, I know for me anyway, I'm like, ooh, where am I? Who am I? What am I talking about? What's going on? But yeah.
Even though our episodes are short, relatively short, 25 minutes usually or less, you still kind of like lose your words and your brain power after 2 episodes.
Yeah.
It's like, did I already say that? I wish you could see them. They both have Simple Steps t-shirts on. I love it. I love it. You're batching it for the summer, which means you probably, how often do you drop your episodes?
Every Tuesday by 6 a.m. or so, we have an episode out.
So it's interesting. The ladies I've interviewed so far, some are very rigid about, which I am when I teach it, because the reason is I have a favorite podcast and they decided, they didn't ask me.
They decided they were going to go every other week. And so now what happens is I have to remember that I love their podcast and I have to go find them because it doesn't come up in my queue the same way. And so I love it that you are consistent with that, because I do think I know we're slave to the algorithm, but it does make a difference. And the people that love you are counting on that.
Yeah. We believe in consistency for sure. Yeah. I mean, we took a small break at Christmas, but I'm not sure 1 week, maybe just one or two. I'm not sure we'll do that this year. You lose a little traction, I feel like, if you're not every week.
So pro tip. Pro tip.
Yes.
Please listen again. I just take an old episode and post it and say, this was one of the most downloaded episodes. And so while we're taking a minute, we want to make sure that you had a chance to hear this about them, because it's not about us, right?
Right.
I think we sort of did that. We gave them our top 5 in numbers, and we said during this little break, go back and listen. But we didn't actually
put it on the podcast.
Well, we were pretty new at that point too, like under 30 episodes. So it was like, they would have just heard it probably.
We have done a few bonus episodes too that we usually will put out like on a Thursday, and they're shorter. And
I love bonus episodes. I think that that's really fun, and it's a nice surprise. I listen to a lot of true crime. When there's a bonus episode, something broke. And it's like, whoa.
That makes you want to listen. That's great.
Consistency is important. What about, it seems like you have built a community. You've got everyone jumping on a trampoline now. Talk about your community.
Yeah, we have a Facebook community, Facebook group that it was one that I had started with my name on it. And then when we started talking about how we want to invite people into these, like to do some Facebook lives and some visual teachings and things like that. We just partnered together on the Facebook group that was already in existence. And since we've done that, I think we've added like 40 more people or something like that. So it's really helped to grow it. And that's been a lot of fun. We'll put out polls on there related to our topic. We've done several Facebook lives and sharing the episodes on that group. So that's been a good way of creating community.
Because both of us value community. We both have our own businesses. She has groups. I have groups. We have separate social media. On my last podcast, we had one just for that podcast, but we're using currently, unless we decide to change, we're using her business one and mine so that we are reaching 2 different audiences with our podcast episode that's dropped and the things that we're doing. And so I feel like for now, that's helping us to build community, which is important to us. And we would love to build more. That's kind of one of our goals for this year.
Sure.
The Facebook Lives are helping.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good to know, because that's a lot of people are afraid of the Facebook Lives. Now, one of the things I just learned recently in a mastermind podcast class I took was about using your title and your descriptions, using really keywords so the people that are looking for you can find you. Is that something you focus on when you title or when you write your descriptions?
We've been kind of playing around with that, kind of going back and forth about like longer titles. We were trying to do more catchy. Like we kind of looked at another podcaster that we both listened to and saw that hers weren't very catchy, but they had all the things that covered in that episode.
We're still learning that. And it isn't one of our, I'd say, kind of little challenge that we have. But it's interesting because one of our first episodes one was called Walk, one was called Water, one was called Writing. And those are quite popular, just these one-word titles. So when people are looking up like about water, drinking more water, I think they found us. And
that's been one of our most popular ones, just simply water. So,
That's interesting because so when I first started this one, Interrupted, the 3rd episode, this girl had this unbelievable terminal illness and she cured herself with self-hypnosis and of course nutrition and this, but I couldn't pronounce the name of it. I work in radio, so I should be able to. I've learned how to find and pronounce, but I couldn't. And it was very difficult to spell. So I left it off. After a couple weeks, she reached out. She goes, I'm just curious. How come you didn't put the name of my disease in the title or the description? And I was like, because I couldn't spell it or pronounce it. And she goes, I'm going to send you the pronunciation and the spelling. So I went back in and I changed the title and I put that in and I put her name because she is now kind of well known for beating this. And then I went into the description and I put it in there. And within a day, we had 200 more downloads.
Oh boy. Wow.
Wow. Okay.
So it really solidified. And do you use Chat GPT?
I do some.
She does a little. She writes our content, so she's the one.
So I use that when I was to find keywords. If it's a subject that I'm like, wow, I'm not really sure. I go, what are some keywords for this subject that people would be Googling? And I know that now there's classes on how to ask Chat GPT things.
Oh, wow.
But
okay.
It has really helped with my downloads. And if I have one episode that's really not moving, because maybe the people that were on it didn't help promote it, which I think is really a kind thing. If you interview someone, if they then help you promote, would be really great. So then I'll go and maybe I'll change some of the keywords or some things in the definition, because the thing that drew me to the masterclass is they said, do you want to get off social media? And I was like, wouldn't that be awesome if my podcast could hold its own? And there were some things about that mastermind class. She wasn't great at talking. You know, when I sent you an email about saying you versus I and hey, everybody. Hey, you guys. She was really bad at that. And if I just watched that, I wouldn't have taken the class, but her SEO and how to make those Google connections, how to do the keywords was so valuable. And I feel like it has really helped me.
And so when you say description, is that like the show notes? Episode
yes,
notes?
For each episode. So the main one, that was a whole class on how to write your bio and what your podcast is about and get keywords in there. Yeah. And then each episode would have its own keywords. That's not my strength. I actually do 5 podcasts and I don't recommend this, but because I work in radio, when they said we're going to do podcasts, I'm like, pick me. And then there was 3 of us that decided to do a podcast. Well, in radio, everyone gets fired all the time. It's just a thing. We finally got our 3rd person and she got fired. And not for anything she did. They just changed the format. She was on 98.9 The Bull with Fitz in the Morning. Claire, I don't know if you ever listened, but we went to the bosses and we said, we know you fired the whole Fitz team. Can we keep Claire on our podcast? Because it was a radio podcast and they let us. The woman that produces that creates the title and she is a pop culture person and she comes up with the best titles. Are they keyword rich? No, but they're hilarious. And so then I do another one with a friend. It's about survivors of childhood sexual abuse, but everyone is our interview with Dawn, our interview with Steve.
Nobody's going to Google interview with Steve.
So we're working on changing that up. But with this one, I've been working really hard to get titles like if someone has a book, I try to include their book title along with their name. So it is a process. It is a learning curve. And I love it. Being from radio, I resisted podcasting for a long time. But now I'm like, wow, I do what I want. I say what I want. And it's really a beautiful thing.
There is a lot of freedom, isn't there?
Yeah.
In podcasting. Yeah. It's your channel. You can do what you want.
Yeah. So what's been your favorite thing or your biggest surprise or what you love about it?
The biggest surprise so far is like how many things we can talk about that relate to habits and simplifying things. I mean, we just didn't know how far that would go. And we have so many ideas. We can barely contain them all. So that's a surprise.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've really enjoyed our interviews. I really enjoy doing that and like getting to see somebody else. I believe most of the people we've interviewed haven't really been interviewed before, or not a lot anyway. And so seeing them find their voice and their strength, seeing them realize they have a story. We interviewed my dad and he was very hesitant about it. The morning of, he was kind of like, I don't know what you want me to say. And, but just getting to see all of the people we've interviewed realize they have a story to tell. And it's fun just getting them to see that they also, because we always ask about their habits. Though they also people tend to think I don't really have any habits, but they do. Yeah. Seeing them come alive and find their voice.
When you talk about habits, I think that is so brilliant because that's one of the key things I teach in podcasting is make it a habit, record every week and make it a habit, put it in whatever platform you're going to use. And when all of this becomes a habit, this is easy.
Yeah, it really is. Also just about that idea of simplifying, taking away the scare of like starting something new, such as podcasting, or maybe you've never walked. And one of the common examples we use is, so you don't like to walk or you don't want to move a lot, just put your shoes on and walk out your front door. See what happens. You don't have to say, I'm going to walk so long or so far, but just put your shoes on, walk out, go out the front door, see what happens.
Just like your tip of just hit record, right? I mean, you're going to hit record, so you're going to start talking. The odds are pretty great you're going to say something.
A friend of mine gave me this term. I love it so much. Reduce it to the ridiculous.
I do.
And I use that with my kids because they'd have these big projects like the senior project. I'm like, what's one thing you can do today?
Exactly. That is our mindset right there.
Yeah.
One thing. Yeah.
That's the crux of the podcast. So we'll leave them with 2 simple steps so as not to overwhelm them after we've shared whatever we're going to share. That we ask them to just choose one and act on it. We really want action. I think that's why we want more community too, because we want to hear, hey, what's working? What's your one action you did and how's it working for you? Yeah.
And I think building community too helps the people see our heart and our intention behind it is not to overwhelm. I mean, this all for me kind of came out of I was asked to speak at something and I spoke about habits and it was received differently. So it's all a group of moms. And some women were like, oh, I love this. And some were like, oh, don't look at me. Don't talk to me about my habit. I think there were several things going on. But one of the things I think was like, I don't want to overhaul my life and I'm doing just fine kind of thing. And helping them to see, like when we do our Facebook lives, we're real. We're not, we're not trying to pretend we have it all together. We're doing our simple steps each day, just like we're asking them to do.
Yeah. Take the scare out of it and make them know or help them to know they are not alone. If you're trying something and it's not working, you're not alone.
I love that. Do you find the best place for people, if somebody's listening and they want to respond, the best place is Facebook? Is that where you get the most response?
A little bit on Instagram, but yeah, probably mostly on Facebook.
Our Facebook group that we have. Yeah.
The podcasts I've done mostly have been on the station's platform. I don't go into the platform to interact with people. And I know some people try to respond to Apple Podcasts so I'm really curious as to where this is my first one I'm doing on my own. And like you, I'm only 6 months in. So I'm never quite sure where the best place for them to respond is.
I do find that actually to be the hardest part of podcasting is the lack of feedback sometimes where you're really like, did that land? I don't know. The numbers aren't showing it, that you can't just look at numbers because like you said, maybe it's the title. Apple Podcast, we do have a few comments that come through that, but to be honest, I find that most podcast platforms are kind of clunky when it comes to people responding in there. We've asked our sisters a couple of times and they're like, how do we do it? They're like, it's not an easy process. So I don't think it's set up well for community, which is why we started the Facebook group because it wasn't happening in the podcast platforms that we're on easily.
So one thing I've discovered now, if you want to be on someone's podcast, they'll ask you, how many downloads do you have? How many episodes do you have? And how many reviews?
Oh, okay.
And some of the ones I've reached out to, they're like, if you don't have 50 reviews, don't bother. And when I launched this, I was in the masterclass. So I reached out to 150 people. And I said, hey, I'm launching a new podcast. I mean, I did voice message like network marketing. Would you be willing to write me a review and give me a 5-star rating? Okay. And it's so hard because people act like, well, do you need a pat on the back? No, but I need a review and I need a rating. Out of 150, about 45 gave me a thumbs up and said yes. Because some people really even aren't on Facebook Messenger, even though you're reaching out to them. Out of the 48 or 45, I got 10 or 11 reviews the first week. My class actually said that's really good if you get like 10% of what you asked for. But it is hard. And like you said, sometimes people don't know how to go write a review. So I sent them a little video. This is how you do a review. What I'm noticing is podcasters now are saying, hey, if you write a review and send us a copy, we'll send you, like when your book comes out, we'll send you a copy of the book, or there's different incentives. So I'm like, it must be a big deal if these people that already have 1 million downloads are saying, hey, I need your reviews.
Yeah. Okay. Good point.
I've actually heard some of the podcasts I listen to, they actually shamelessly beg for reviews. They said, I need to grow this reach and you're going to help me do it. And this is how.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have one that I love to listen to is Crime Analyst with Laura Richards. Do you listen to that?
No. I don't listen to any of the crime ones, but I know a lot of people do.
Yeah. She's changed a lot of laws. In the UK, she changed the stalking law, and now she's trying to do that here. So I love to follow her. But at the end, she always goes, and here's my big ask. If you love this podcast, please take a minute, write a review and give me a 5-star. And the thing is I do that because I love her work. And now it's no big deal. I listen to the episode. I go and give her a 5-star rating. And if it's a specifically episode that really I gain a lot from, I just say, this episode touched my heart because of blah, blah, blah. It's really easy. It doesn't have to be a review like a book review.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to do this when you do your book. We have to get reviews. It matters. It's learning to ask, and that it's okay to ask, because you know what? They can always not do it. But if we don't ask, they don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. That's good.
Is that in your out cue of your podcast yet?
No. Asking for a review? I don't think we do.
Not a review. No, we've just been asking for shares.
Yeah. Review.
But we'll just quickly add it. Yeah.
Like, hey, if you really love us, give us a 5-star, not a 3. Just don't bother if you're going to give us 3. Might really like us.
Might as well make it the big ask if you're going to ask for the 5 stars.
Definitely.
So Lisa and Michelle's podcast is called Simple Steps for the Whole You. What is it you really want people to know?
Change and improving your life doesn't have to be overwhelming. It really doesn't. It can be one small thing. And with time and repeating that small thing over and over again, it will make a difference when you stick with it. Like that whole idea of putting on your shoes and walking outside. If you did that every day, or, close to every day, even, it's going to make a difference in your mood and your overall health and your just overall well-being. And just not thinking that, I did it one time, I did it 2 times, I didn't see a difference yet, but just keep at that small thing and watch it multiply, watch it just expand and improve your life.
Yeah. So I'll kind of take this from our purpose and our mission of our podcast, but we both work in the health and wellness field. We both love to work with women to see their lives be flourishing. So it's just kind of naturally what we do already. So to do a podcast is a great extension of it, but it's our desire that they would know that they're loved by their creator. And what we find is when a person really feels loved, that motivates them to take these life-enhancing habits coming from this place of love versus, I need to do this to self-improve. I need to do this because everybody else is doing it. But I love myself because I am loved. So I'm going to take a small step towards this more flourishing life. I think that's kind of where we come from. I feel like it's a different slant than maybe some other people have, but these mini habits flowing from this confidence that you are loved. We also really believe in the whole person, body, mind, spirit. We're both yoga instructors, and that's a great place to practice body, mind, spirit, but we're about food and nutrition and movement, and also your spiritual and mental habits. So we kind of talk about all of it, which is really fun.
It is really fun. That's why the topics are endless.
Yes.
I love it.
Our platforms, our Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcasts. So that's where you can find us. Yeah.
And it's Simple Steps.
For the whole you. If you just put Simple Steps, there's a lot of them that'll come up. But if you put For the Whole You, Simple Steps for the Whole You, you'll find us. We both have our own website. Mine is breatheandbe.net, and there is a page on there for the podcast.
And this is Michelle.
Yeah, Lisa's is empoweringhealthcoach.com.
If you love this podcast, here's a big ask. Will you share with your friends and family, subscribe, give us a review, and a 5-star rating so that others looking to reinvent their lives will be able to get the help they're looking for? Thank you in advance.